This episode is sponsored by Plod. It's the AI wearable gadget that takes notes of your meetings and calls. With Plod, you don't have to write notes and make summaries anymore. Do you want to run your meetings more efficiently and productively? Meet Plod Note. It's the credit card-sized AI gadget you attach to the back of your phone. Whether you have a business call or an in-person meeting, it can be your ultimate business assistant. Plod Note records what you say and automatically creates transcripts, summaries, and visual mind maps for every conversation. More than 700,000 people around the world trust Plod Note every day to save time and work smarter. Take your meeting to the next level. Type PLAUD into Google and get a 10% off discount with my code DREAMJOB. That's PLAUD. Again, the website is PLAUD. You'll be glad you did. This is Find Your Dream Job, the podcast that helps you get hired, have the career you want, and make a difference in life. I'm your host, Mac Pritchard. I'm also the founder of Mac's List. It's a job board in the Pacific Northwest that helps you find a fulfilling career. Every Wednesday, I talk to a different expert about the tools you need to get the work you want. Finding a job that leads to a rewarding career doesn't happen by chance. Our guest today says to get the work you want, you need to take 3 steps. Aren't you curious to know what they are? Elona Landau is here to talk about the secret to career fulfillment. She's the principal of the Department of Practical Sunshine. Her company helps managers, boards, and teams set and reach their goals. Elona joins us from Portland, Oregon. Now, Elona, you say the secret to career fulfillment is self-reflection. Well, tell us more about this.
It's an interesting place to start, right? Because often people think that their career pursuits need to be centered on the tasks they're going to do, the titles they're going to hold. And those are very important things. But ultimately, the only thing that is consistent in every role that we are in is ourselves. And if we don't know who we are, what we're about, what is important to us, and how we wish to serve in the world, it can end up with us being in a place of feeling empty, not feeling whole, not feeling in alignment with our best selves. So when we start the process of looking for a new job, whether the pivot came to us or we are choosing the pivot, looking inward is an excellent first step, and I encourage everyone to see it as a must-do, not a nice-to-do.
We're going to talk about 3 steps you recommend to do that self-reflection, Elona. But before we do that, say more about how self-reflection helps you, especially during a job search.
Job searches can feel so ungrounding. They can bring up a lot of questions about our identity, our feelings of self-worth, our ego, and frankly about our skills, talents, interests, gifts, and abilities. So starting from a point of self-reflection where you can really identify for yourself, who are you? What's important to you? What do you want to bring forward right now in your life? Allows you to come from a place of proactivity, of empowerment, of agency in a time where often we feel disempowered and our agency feels removed from us as we're waiting for responses from prospective employers, etc.
So that's how self-reflection can help you when you're looking for work. But what happens, Elona, if you skip this step and instead just sit down at the computer and start sending out applications without doing the self-reflection?
Well, I imagine some people end up okay, but most people end up feeling a lack of wholeness. And that may seem a little woo to some of the listeners, but to me, recognizing that what we do, that our jobs, our careers are so much of our lives, both in terms of time and in terms of identity, that skipping this step doesn't allow you to have that same holistic groundedness that we will need in order to be successful wherever we ultimately land.
Often there's urgency when you look for work. You need to pay your bills, and you may consider taking a job
for the paycheck. It might not align with your short or uh, especially long-term goals. How can self-reflection help you if you find yourself in this situation?
That's the reality, is that often we are required to take a job because we need to have a home, feed ourselves and other folks. And I don't want to diminish the importance of that. However, once you know what is actively important for you in this moment, you can reconcile any decision. So while your ideal dream job might be one of service, and that is a top value or priority for you, it may also be a top priority for you to feel stable and secure. So if you take a job knowing that you're mostly taking it for the paycheck, you can still feel grounded in the value that you have established of feeling that priority of stability for now. It's not an either or, it's a both and.
What's the difference between a conscious compromise, like you just described, and a bad fit?
A bad fit often feels like every day is a values violation. And what I mean by that is it causes friction with you and who you know you are at your core. And so realizing that you can bring yourself back into alignment by accepting that what you are doing is offering and providing you with certain core needs, having those needs met will bring you into somewhat of an alignment, maybe not perfect alignment in the way that a fully aligned position could be, but definitely gets you a little bit closer.
So let's talk about how to do the self-reflection that leads to career fulfillment. You break it into three parts: and heart set, mindset, and skill set. Let's start with the first part, heart set. What do you mean by heart set, Elena?
It's a triangle, so each of the three components interact. Heart set is about what you feel in your heart. And I know, again, this may seem a little woo, a little out there for folks, but what we know about our heart set is it tells us how we feel, it tells us who we are at our core, and what we value. And this is really about recognizing that as unique beings on this planet, we have special gifts, talents, and interests to share. And starting with knowing what that means for you is a really critical piece of this triangle.
In your work, do you find that many people ignore heart set when making career decisions?
Absolutely, and I'm guilty of this as well. I am a planner. I like to prepare or prepare to be prepared or think about preparing to be prepared. So I recognize that for a lot of folks, the logic, the planning, the structure of a job search feels like the most important. And I would argue that in order to be truly in alignment and to have it feel fulfilling or have where you land be fulfilling, if you skip the step, you're missing that critical component.
How do you explore heart set? Are there questions you recommend asking yourself or exercises you have your clients do?
Oh, yes. I start almost every client engagement with a "What are your values" worksheet. It's about a 5-page uh, document that allows each client to identify their top 8 values and then critically define them for themselves. What my meaning of agency is may not be yours. And so knowing what it is to you, how it resonates with you, and how it could play out in your job search is a really excellent exercise. It's even better if you can talk it through with someone else. I find that bouncing your definition off of someone else gets you to a stronger point of clarity and understanding of what it actually means.
As you do this work, what role do personal values play in determining heart set?
I think they are almost one and the same in that knowing who you are at your core and acting in alignment with what is important to you brings that heart set forward in a really stable and empowering way. I also would say that values gets a little bit of a bum rap sometime. It feels a little amorphous. And for that reason, taking the time to define it, to really think them through, brings it into clarity and better focus, and then makes them tools that you can apply when you are assessing potential opportunities that come to you.
What's the best way to get clarity about your personal values when you're thinking about heart set?
Starts with the willingness to look inward and accept that there are probably things inside of you that don't feel so great, whether they are places where you know you've acted out of alignment, whether you've been in situations where you needed to perform certain duties or show up in a certain way for your own survival. And again, no shame, no blame in that, but knowing that those are sculpting events that you can mine for data will allow you to use those lessons if you are reflective on them, if you sit with them and think about them in a proactive way.
This is terrific, Elena. We're going to take a break. When we come back, Elona Landau will continue to share her advice on the secret to career fulfillment.
Looking for work is hard, and it makes you vulnerable too. Scammers take advantage of this vulnerability by posing as recruiters to extract money or sensitive personal information. How do these bad actors find you? Data brokers across the world scour the web and public records for names and addresses and sell it for a profit. Scammers can use this data to send you fake job offers and other messages that play on your vulnerability as a job seeker. This can lead to identity theft and empty bank accounts. You can ask data brokers to delete your records, but doing this yourself would take hundreds of hours. There's a better way. Incogni reaches out to data brokers on your behalf, requests removal of your records, and deals with any objections. And because many brokers continue to collect your information, Incogni takes care that your data stays off the market by making repeated removal requests. Take control of your personal information today. Use promo code DREAMJOB to get an exclusive 60% off an annual Incogni plan at incogni.com/dreamjob. Do you have an international trip coming up? Here's one thing you probably haven't put on your packing list: learning the language. But with Babbel, you can start talking in just a few weeks. Babbel isn't only for beginners. Thanks to past classes and many trips to Latin America and Spain, I speak conversational Spanish. Using Babbel helps me keep and improve my Spanish and get ready for my next trip. It also fits my schedule and meets my needs. Babbel lets me learn at my own pace, with material tailored to my level. Find out how Babbel can help you. Babbel's 14 award-winning language courses are backed by a 20-day money-back guarantee. I want you to learn another language, so I'm teaming up with Babbel to gift you 55% off subscriptions, but only for our listeners at babbel.com/dreamjob. Get up to 55% off at babbel.com/dreamjob, spelled BABBEL.com/dreamjob. babbel.com/dreamjob. Rules and restrictions may apply. We're back in the Maxlist studio. I'm talking with Elona Landau. She's the principal of the Department of Practical Sunshine. Her company helps managers, boards, and teams set and reach their goals. Elona joins us from Portland, Oregon. Now, Elona, before the break, we were talking about the secret to career fulfillment, and you say it's self-reflection, and to do self-reflection well, you need to take 3 steps, and the first is looking at heart set. Let's talk about the second step you recommend for doing self-reflection. It's mindset. What is mindset, and how is it different from heart set?
Mindset has to do with the way we think. It has to do with the frames that we apply to any situation, and it has to do with self-talk. So recognizing that a lot of the way that we see the world is based on what our brain or how our brain is making sense of it is a critical piece for you to recognize you actually have control over that. You can't control everything you think, but you can control the way that you perceive things if you take the time to recognize that it is an act of perception. So in other words, one of the things I tell people to think about is, what are you bringing forward into your job search that may not be serving you, and where did that come from? If you were let go from a previous position, you may start to have some thoughts about yourself of unworthiness, or maybe it's because I'm too old, or all of the isms might come in here. And recognizing that keeping those mindsets in place may not be allowing you to show up with the openness and with the confidence that you need to have. Of course, the other parts of mindset that most people are probably familiar with have to do with a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset, a scarcity mindset versus an abundance mindset. All of these have to do with understanding that the way we think and the way we see the world is something that we can choose.
Well, let's talk about those objections that you might be carrying around that affect your mindset. You mentioned ageism as an example. Uh, there are other concerns people might have that they believe would prevent them from getting the job they want. How do you manage that? Elona, I suppose there are two parts. How do you identify the isms, as you said, that are preventing you from moving ahead? And then how do you manage those?
The first thing, once you recognize them, is that you get to decide, is this true? Is this true for me? Is this actually helping me to believe that this is true? So those three questions can really get you into the space of considering whether it is a valuable thought or frame that you are bringing forward. And then the other part is to know that when you recognize it, you can actively choose a different mindset. You can say, in the past, I believed XYZ, but now I believe this is true. I find for some folks, it can be helpful to figure out what the source of that mindset is. Often it is a person, whether it's a previous client or a previous boss or a coworker that may have said something that just stuck and changed the way you think about yourself. Decide if it's time to dismantle that and let that go and replace it with a different mindset that you create for yourself.
How do you do this work exactly, especially if you're on your own? Do you talk to a peer? Do you need to work with a coach? What is effective?
Both of those can be incredibly effective. When you talk to a peer, it can be really helpful if there's someone that knows you and can boost your ego to say, that's not how I see you. It can really give a gut check. But it also comes with a bit of a bias, right? Most of the people you would be talking to about your job search or working through your mindset issues with are probably already in your corner. So it might not be totally neutral. A coach, therefore, can provide you with that neutral, objective opinion and allow you to see things in a different way that might be difficult for you to do on your own. That being said, once you have had the experience of doing mindset work with someone else, I do find that it is something that you can do for yourself on a more solo basis, and you can learn the questions that really help you to get to the core. And those are often things like I mentioned earlier: what is true for you? Does this seem accurate, or have I attached to something that is not really true for me?
So you've identified the barriers that are affecting your mindset and the steps you need to overcome them. What happens next?
That's when you start to frame your mindset in the most constructive, proactive way for where you are right now. I am someone who will find a fulfilling career. I am someone who doesn't need to be held back because I am of a certain age. I am someone who has consistently demonstrated resilience and the ability to move forward even in difficult circumstances. So while your previous mindset might have been holding you back, you have the opportunity to develop one that will propel you forward.
How does your mindset show up in interviews or networking conversations, especially if you don't address these problems?
I have been on the other side of the table, and I can always tell when a candidate is coming in with a clear mindset about who they are and what they bring to the table. It's an energy that people bring in, but it also comes through in their answers. They have a sense of clarity, they have a focus, and it allows me, as the person considering whether this person is a good fit, to see the core and the truth of who they are and how they might be a good fit for the role.
And how do you come across if you haven't done this mindset work?
I often find it looks like a feeling of insecurity, that's especially that scarcity mindset. When people come into a job interview, well, when I coach people, I tell them, think of it a little bit like dating. You want to be enthusiastic, but not desperate. And people who come in without doing the mindset work of abundance, of growth, have that little bit of scarcity to them, and it comes across as being less confident and, frankly, less appealing.
So we've talked about the first two steps for self-reflection, heart set and mindset. Let's talk about the third one, skill set. What role does your skill set play in self-reflection?
Since it is a part of this triangle, skill set impacts both your heart set and your mindset directly. Knowing what you actually are capable of doing, having trust and faith in both your hard skills and your soft skills, putting time and effort into developing new skills if you feel like your skills are outdated, can help you to feel more confident and frame yourself in that mindset of being well suited for future roles, and also proves to your heart set that you have value. So this is the tangible action of this heart set, mindset, skill set triangle. This is the piece that people can really grasp almost right away. And certainly it's includes updating your resume, doing all of the networking, all of the actions of the job search. Each time you do that, each time you engage in that, it actually, if done well, supports the other two tenets of the triangle.
So you're showing people what you can do, what you offer. Many candidates might think that your skills alone should get you the position you want. What's the risk of building a job search only around your skill set and not paying attention to mindset and heart set?
It's hollow. It feels less complete. It's not a holistic way of approaching it. And as much as I would say that our jobs can be transactional, what we're hoping for, again, is career fulfillment and feeling a sense of wholeness in our roles and in our careers. So without those other two pieces, you may just feel like a cog in the wheel. So recognizing that we have the power to bring different elements to what might otherwise feel like a transactional situation, I find to be really empowering and frankly inspiring.
How do you pull all this together, Elana? Heart set, mindset, and skill set. And typically, how long does it take someone to do this work?
It's it varies pretty dramatically. Folks who've already established some form of introspective practice, mindfulness meditation, mindful walking, times in silence, moments of solitude, are a little bit ahead of the game in terms of recognizing the importance of reflection. But folks who come up and say, I've never really done the internal work of my career or understand who I am at my core, that takes a little bit longer.
Well, it's been a terrific conversation. Now, tell us, Elana, what's next for you?
Well, I hope to continue serving the world and helping people to know, speak, and live their truth. I am continuing my coaching and consulting, and I have a few exciting strategic planning retreats and other engagements on the calendar.
Well, I know that listeners can learn more about that work and other services you offer by visiting your website, www.practicalsunshine.co. And you also invite our audience to connect with you on LinkedIn. When you do reach out to Elana, I hope you'll mention you heard her on Find Your Dream Job. Now, Elana, given all the great advice you've shared today, what's the one thing you want a listener to remember about the secret to career fulfillment?
That it rests with you, that we have the power inside of ourselves to develop a life that we want, and keeping that empowerment close to your heart, recognizing that you have the mindset and the skill set to achieve that can feel inspiring and empowering.
Next week, our guest will be Carly Richter. She's a senior recruiter and account manager with HR Annie Recruitment. Carly helps companies and nonprofits build strong, mission-aligned teams. It's natural to want to say the right thing when you talk to an employer, but holding back key details about your job search can work against you. Join us next Wednesday when Carly Richter and I talk about why transparency matters in a job interview. Until next time, thanks for letting us help you find your dream job. The show is produced by Max List. Susan Thornton Huff schedules our guests and writes our newsletter. Lisa Kislenberry Anderson manages our social media. Our sound engineer and editor is Matt Fiorillo. Dawn Mole creates our transcripts. And our music is by Freddie Trujillo. This is Mac Pritchard. See you next week.
As you think about your career, you're likely also looking at your budget. And everything these days, from groceries to travel, can be expensive. Which is why I want to tell you about a podcast I like. It's called All the Hacks. Every week, host Chris Hutchins talks to a different expert about how to get more out of life, money, and travel, all while spending less and saving more. On All the Hacks, you'll learn how to pick the credit cards you need to travel the world for free, optimize your investments for the best long-term returns, and tweak your routine to maximize your happiness in life. As a frequent flyer myself, I've enjoyed Chris's interviews with travel hackers. In these episodes, Chris and his guests share practical advice on how you can get and use airline points for free trips and bargain airfares. Check it out for yourself. Search for All the Hacks on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Your wallet will thank you later.